Today is supposed to be the birthday of Jesus. As I said earlier, Jesus was not born on the 25th of December. He was born somewhere at the same time around when there's the Feast of Tabernacles in the Jewish economy. So that it wasn't this cold winter time with all the snow and all that. It was somewhere in the summer coming on to, say, October, November. But nevertheless, it's 2010 years ago that this happened. And we lose sight of this in our whole celebration. We're thinking in terms of Jesus in a crash or Jesus in a manger, this little baby who is rejected by folks. He can't get a place to rest his head. And the wise men from the east came on and bring him gold, frankincense, and myrrh so that he could find the necessities of life and so on. But we got to remember that this same Jesus is the one who was in the beginning. In John 1:1 says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. And we beheld the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth." Many people don't know that Jesus existed before, being born of Mary. So he's the one that has always been the creator. He's the creator God. The Father probably is the administrator, and the Holy Spirit is the one that is, especially since Christ took on a physical form and was limited to time and space. He is everywhere at the same time, the Holy Spirit, that is. And he said, "I will go so the Holy Spirit could be here and he could be with everybody." All right. So he's the one that created the angels. He's the one that created all the other alien worlds, created the sun, moon, and stars, this earth. He created us, and so on. Every time, not Gabriel or an angel, but God had interacted with human beings, it's Jesus. Because when Moses was still told to take his shoe off, because this ground on which he stands is holy, that was Christ there. Other times with Israel, Christ would be out there, directing them and doing things like that. So that, what role then does Mary play? When Christ became human, it was a transition from being a God that was old as the sun and older than the sun, that was invisible, that is so powerful, was able to become so small to be placed in our uterus, in our womb, and develop and be born. Now, the question is, was it a complete 48 chromosomes that was placed in there, or was just 24 to combine with her 24 with her egg? Was her egg involved? Did he resemble her, have any resemblance to her and to her other kids? You know that mother genetic sort of code. You could see the mom in the boy. Was that ever involved in him? In my theology studies, I'm advised not to speculate or not to get into these areas because it opens you up to a whole bunch of, deception and straight up you're just speculating. So it's wise to stay away. But I'm just, asking these questions so that it gives the place as if she was conceived with this whatever zygote or spermatozoa using her egg, or whether it was a complete zygote, but she's the mother of God. Was she really the mother of God? Because he existed before. I don't know how to go with this. As I said, I'm advised not to speculate and get into areas like this. But the question, though, is this, that she was a virgin, according to the scriptures, and I believe it. And she was chosen for this role. So that, does that make her a goddess? I mean, in pagan times, I guess that's how it works. These pagan gods had a mom that was a god. It's kind of craziness. But I know in pagan religions you have female priests and so forth. And somebody was saying that Mary is the first pope. and maybe Peter's the second pope or something like that. I don't know how it could be that, because in the realms of the pope, when one dies, then the next one ascends the throne. So that Mary and Peter were at the same time alive, and there's no evidence that she died and then he, succeeded her. But nothing like that. Peter nor Mary were popes, and Mary was not given any exalted role in the church. She was just another member. And it sounds this ingenious to women, a woman, being used by God. I mean, I won't go off on that, but they're saying that Mary changed things, and women could have been a priest. But you see, in the Jewish economy, when God lived in the temple, his presence was in the most holy place. Women couldn't go in there. Men also had to be very careful when they go in there, because if they had sex within a certain time, they couldn't go in there. If the sins weren't forgiven, they couldn't go in there. If they, go in there and then they start going off on all kind of lust and all kind of sin, they'll die in there. And, a woman, she expects a certain time. She could calculate when her menstruals, but stress and so forth could make a change. And you can imagine her officiating in the temple, and then her period comes, she died. I mean, in the temple, it was clear that people that menstruate couldn't be in there. People that had open wounds couldn't be in there. People who hadn't the sins pardoned couldn't be in there. It was so rigorous and different. But you see, the enemy basically is trying to destroy this civilization. And I think they're giving women too many roles. In my view, the way I see life is divided into women and men. And in life, they understand certain things more than a man would, and a man understands certain things than a woman would. And so when they come together, they could understand the whole spectrum of life. But now you find women are getting into roles that men might have been doing traditionally. And tradition has its place, because people follow God's instructions. Plus, experience has shown them that, women should just have a narrow kind of focus, and men another narrow focus. So when you have women doing everything, boxing, wrestling, construction, steel work, military and so on. I mean, you're giving women too many burdens there, man. And they don't have enough time to spend on the things that might be necessary. They're going to make a child whether one way or another. And then if they can't really function in that role properly, you're going to have some messed up people, man. See? And they're saying now that certain mental illnesses are as a result of women not being with the children, from birth at a certain time, or however they do it. Although I don't agree with that, because in other cultures, women may not necessarily have a big job, like, but they go out to shop and to go out to work in the farm or outside of the home and so on. And some other people have to take care of the kids, but they still don't be as messed up as some people trying to say that it's happening. And of course, women now are smoking, drinking, and doing drugs even when they're pregnant. So that by itself is going to also create some problems. And they had been doing these things before, which would also compromise their own genetics. So if the husband is a druggo, she's a druggo, their genetic material has been compromised. So the children will be born with a compromise. They're going to inherit a compromise from each person's depreciated genes. And then they're now going to, while being developing the pregnancy, they're going to be subjected to more drugs. So, you have a whole bunch of problems there. So that with Jesus, I don't think that we can use the experience of him to justify putting women through some changes that aren't going to work with their nature. Putting them in the military, they may survive, but then they come back, they're killers. They have been beastified, so that I'm not sure if they would have that same fineness and tenderness towards the kids. And anytime things get out of control, they're talking about killing, so anyway, so the story today about the two Marys, I think we have to be careful, because even Jesus he and Mary of Magdalene had a love relationship, but it wasn't necessarily a romantic one. It was that she needed her God more. Okay, and he, as God, also realized that he needs to protect her. So I think that was it.